He thought silence meant surrender. But silence was my weapon. When the audit team arrived, I didn't need to speak. The numbers did that for me. The same spreadsheets he'd mocked me for perfecting became the evidence that undid him. He once said, "Compliance is for cowards." Now he reads compliance reports in his sleep, from a prison cell. The day it started, no one noticed. That's how corporate wars begin, quietly, under the hum of fluorescent lights and the smell of burnt coffee. He was the new director of operations, all swagger and spreadsheets he didn't understand. The kind of man who called shortcuts strategy and arrogance leadership. Within weeks, he'd cut 3 departments for efficiency, transferred my team to a windowless floor, and started signing off on numbers that didn't balance. Not even close. I was the senior compliance analyst, which in his mind meant secretary. He'd wave me off mid-sentence, smirk, and say, "Karen, we don't need auditors breathing down our necks. Just make it look clean." I made it clean, all right, cleaner than he'd ever imagined. Every adjustment, every revised figure, every quiet transfer buried in the general ledger, I recorded it. I built a shadow archive, line by line, time-stamped and mirrored in off-site storage. He thought I was invisible. The quiet woman in the corner with her color-coded tabs and 2 perfect notes. He didn't realize I was building the map that would one day lead investigators straight to him. By the time he noticed the walls closing in, it was too late. His initials were everywhere, every unauthorized signature, every doctored invoice. And the best part? He'd signed them all himself, with that same confident pen stroke he used to dismiss me. Corporate rot doesn't start with corruption. It starts with comfort. He got comfortable, too comfortable, watching numbers bend to his will, watching subordinates flinch at his voice. The board loved his results. Revenue up, costs down. No one cared to ask how. And in corporate mythology, confidence always outranks competence. He'd stroll past my desk each morning, dripping smugness, coffee in one hand, fake charm in the other. "Karen, we're hitting targets no one thought possible," he'd brag, eyes scanning the reports I prepared. Reports he never realized were double-coded. One version for him, one for the truth. Every false expense, every vendor adjustment, every quiet kickback, I categorized them like a librarian of crime. But I didn't report it. Not yet. Because timing and revenge isn't about rage, it's about rhythm. Then came the audit announcement, routine compliance review. The kind that turns confident men into frantic ones. He called an emergency meeting, pretending it was no big deal. I watched him sweat through his performance, tossing out phrases like cross-department alignment and data transparency. Everyone nodded, pretending they understood. I did. That evening, he stormed into my office. "Karen, if anything looks off, fix it. I don't care how." His voice cracked on the word fix. I just smiled. "Already done, sir." And it was. Everything was fixed, in the sense that every falsified transaction now pointed directly to him. All I had to do was hand over the right password when the auditors arrived. The audit team arrived on a Monday, crisp suits, calm faces, clipboards like weapons. You could feel the temperature drop 3 degrees when they entered the conference room. He tried to charm them at first, calling them partners in transparency. They didn't smile. Auditores Harelido. I sat in the corner, silent, watching the show unravel. They asked for files he claimed were under review. I handed over the originals. They asked for transaction trails. I pulled up mirrored logs with timestamps that didn't lie. Each click, each sheet, each cross-reference sliced through his story like paper cuts made of truth. By Wednesday, his confidence began to crumble. The same executives who once worshipped his efficiency started avoiding eye contact. The CFO stopped replying to his messages. HR whispered. IT froze his admin access. I watched it all, quietly, methodically, the same way I'd built the case. Thursday morning, the head auditor called me in privately. "Ms. James, your documentation, it's immaculate. You've practically done our job for us." I just nodded. I like things organized. When I left the room, he was standing in the hallway, pale, jaw tight, eyes burning with the kind of panic that comes when a man realizes the world no longer bends for him. He wanted to speak, maybe to threaten, maybe to beg. But he didn't. Because deep down he knew. The numbers he once controlled had turned witness against him. And I hadn't said a word. By Friday, the whispers had turned into silence. The dangerous kind. His office door stayed closed, blinds drawn. Legal had taken over the corner conference room. The same one where he'd once lectured us about accountability. Now the word hung like irony in the air. I was called in for questioning, not as a suspect, but as a witness. They asked how long I'd known about the discrepancies. I told them the truth. Since the beginning. They asked why I hadn't reported it sooner. I looked them straight in the eye and said, because no one listens to the woman who's always right. The head of compliance almost smiled. They'll listen now. By evening, security escorted him out. No speech. No excuses. Just a cardboard box and a stare that could have cracked glass. He passed my desk on his way out. The same desk he'd once leaned on to lecture me about corporate loyalty. Our eyes met for 3 seconds that felt like a lifetime. He didn't say a word. Neither did I. 2 weeks later, the investigation concluded. Fraud, misappropriation, falsified reports. The kind of words that end careers and start case studies. The board called it a necessary correction. The media called it a breach of trust. I called it closure. He'd built an empire on manipulation and shortcuts. I dismantled it with patience and precision. Not through anger, not through chaos, but through the very system he thought he controlled. Because revenge, when done right, doesn't shout. It files paperwork. In the weeks that followed, the office felt different. Quieter. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm, when people walk softer, speak slower, and finally read the policies they used to ignore. My name started circulating in upper management, the analyst who saved the company. They offered me a promotion, a bigger office, even a bonus. I declined all of it. Because this was never about climbing ladders. It was about burning the rot that lived beneath them. He tried to reach out once. An email sent from a personal account, no subject line. Just 6 words. You planned this all along, didn't you? I didn't reply. I archived it. Some truths don't need acknowledgement. They just need time to echo. Months later, I passed his old office, now occupied by a woman who actually read her reports. The framed motto he'd left behind still hung on the wall. Winners make their own rules. I almost laughed. Because in the end, he did make his own rules, and they're the ones that destroyed him. As for me, I stayed exactly where I was. Same desk, same silence, same spreadsheets. Because power doesn't come from titles or corner offices. It comes from knowing the truth, and being patient enough to let it speak for itself. So no, I didn't destroy him. He did that himself. I just made sure the system noticed.